Hello, dear friends. It's not easy task to reconcile ufology with current affairs, but it's all connected. Opinion piece. American aliens. E.T. history of the Americas. An almost religious experience. From Mexico to Antarctica. Written by two Chilean ufologists, Francisco Ortega and Juan Andrés Salfate. The most ufological country in the Americas is Brazil. Crop circles are warnings. The new galactic year begins on July 25. There have been 52,998 earthquakes in 1 year. Famous photon belt has 12 vortices. It takes 2,000 years to pass through a single vortex. There would be 3 previous warnings on humankind. Argentina, Egypt, Arabia, Turkey, and Indonesia call for BRICS membership. CCP tanks take to the streets to protect the banks from the people. Chinese demand debt jubilee as property market slumps. Let's start. American Aliens is the title of the illustrated book by the Chilean ufologists Francisco Ortega and Juan Andrés Salfate, published by Planeta, which arrives in bookstores at a time when the veil is beginning to be torn off many unexplained phenomena. This is not a research book, but a treatise on ufological history and geography, which refers to space that stretches from the border between Mexico and the USA to Antarctica. The American continent is so rich in legends about ancient visitors from the stars that trying to compile them all seems an almost impossible task, since the phenomenon has its own well-defined characteristics in the Americas. The authors hope that American countries will follow the example of the USA and begin to bring transparency to these unusual facts by declassifying official documents. Modern ufology began in 1947 in the US, where terms such as alien or flying saucer were created. Myths and folklore from the American past can now be seen through the lens of ufology. This duo of ufologists published The New Witches earlier. In the Mayan sacred book Popol Vuh, there are mentions of beings covered in green and blue, in quotes, who are great sages and are called Ngukumat. And in Pedro de Valdivia's campaign against the Mapuche, the sighting of color-changing spheres in the sky is reported. Ortega and Salfate mentioned an event that occurred in 1955 on Roberts Island in Antarctica during an official Chilean expedition whose members, both military and civilian, testified to having seen 2 cylindrical metallic objects in the sky that remained upright and motionless for hours. There have also been cases of craft crashing with crew members on both in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and Mexico, as in the Roswell case. Machinations. Multidimensional landscape. The key problem has been the various machinations of all the different ET groups operating in the field with different plans and intentions. Some have been malevolent, therefore easy to track. Others have seemed benevolent, even angelic, but deceptive and distorting. It is those closer to the truth that need to be watched more closely. There appears to be a genuine commitment on the part of a variety of these diverse interdimensional groups to come together to support the emergence of a new, liberated and sovereign soul consciousness. By awakening the soul and forging soul sovereignty through your being, you are breaking this influence, a gambling process that fortunately is now accelerating more broadly. The awakening was accelerated by the misguided measures that are now failing. Several of the ED groups are highly advanced energy workers, capable of manipulating the planetary field, and have done so ruthlessly. Over the past 20 years, the frequency has continually resounded that control and manipulation do not work, and are counterproductive to those who perpetuate them. In any case, it is completely fruitless. The great cosmic cycles of completion, such as those in which we are currently moving, are designed to break that coming intervention and crystallization. That process is well advanced here and is nearing completion. We stand on the precipice of the culminating event. Solar storm. Cosmic update from Dr. Xavi. In the early morning hours of Wednesday, July 20th, 2022, solar winds are traveling above normal at 411.5 kilometers per second, and the magnetosphere is once again engulfed in electromagnetic plasma particles pressing down on our planet. Solar storm underway. A minor G1 class geomagnetic storm is underway on 21st July, following the arrival of slow-moving coronal mass ejection, which left the Sun on 15th July, almost a week ago. This minor storm could set the stage for more intense activity in the coming days, when a high-speed solar wind stream and another flare are expected to arrive on 22nd and 23rd July. Sunspot AR 3060 exploded during the early morning hours of 21st July, producing a C5 class solar flare and a solar tsunami. Shortly after the explosion, the Air Force reported a Type 2 solar radio burst, a natural form of radio noise produced by shock waves at the edge of a flare. The characteristics of the burst suggested that the flare was passing through the Sun's atmosphere at a speed of 1063 kilometers per second. Effects. Coronal mass ejections are being tracked as if they were on their way. The slower they are, the stronger they tend to be in activation. In addition, several new sunspots have been detected on our Sun and are being monitored for their potential strength. Solar flares cause upheaval in our planet's tectonic plates, as well as in its outer field, which could trigger earthquakes and weather patterns such as thunder or snowstorms, torrential rains, tornadoes, hurricanes, etc. Of course, humans and animals feel these events physically, emotionally, and mentally, as organs, glands, muscles, tissue, cells, molecules, atoms, etc. shift and transform to align with the ever-mentioned source frequency. A light is emerging from the black hole at the center of our galaxy, located at approximately 28 degrees Sagittarius, the sign of higher knowledge, expanding ideals, justice, philosophy, and spiritual teachings. The typical black hole, the result of a supernova that is an exploded star, behaves like a hoover sucking up energy around it that can include entire galaxies. However, this black hole is bursting with light and symbolically offers us the wisdom of past ages of peace, health, abundance, and love. Crop circles. Russian scientists Marina Popovich and Lydia Andrianova studied 250 crop circles around the world and wrote the book, in quotes, last call, Letters from an Extraterrestrial Civilization. They revealed that crop cycles are created by ET programs, but some are made by humankind. The difference is that plant life continues to grow in those created by ETs, but the plants wither in those created by humans. Crop cycles are warnings of events that would come to our planet if humankind doesn't rise in consciousness. However, humankind is being given a window of opportunity to change. Gaia Earth is never silent. She is always being activated by continuous cosmic occurrences. There are times when the activations are not so intense, and then there are times when they are strong. There have been a total of 52,998 earthquakes in the last 365 days. The warning: there would be 3 advance warnings that would fall on humankind called pre-cataclysms. There would be a disruption of global communications systems. A seismic event would occur involving the coast of Peru and also the Gulf of Mexico to the Great Lakes. If consciousness correction is not done, the final event would be a complete world cataclysm, the method of which hasn't been revealed. But many spiritual scientists who studied the information in the ancient sacred texts say that it would be a division of the world, so that those who have made the correction of consciousness would be in a new golden age. Certainly, cosmic events have been occurring with tremendous force, more so than in the last 24,000 to 26,000 years, a time of new beginnings as our solar system begins again to fly through the 12 vortices of the photon belt. We are currently inside the first vortex. It takes about 2,000 years to pass through a single vortex. As we approach to the new galactic year on July 25th, the above information is worth contemplating, and we must ask ourselves, how is the collective humankind developing in the necessary correction of consciousness, and how am I developing individually? News from the reset. 31 terabytes of John McAfee's data has been compiled on each iniquitous. The Great Awakening secures our victory over the old world order. The missing piece of the third secret of Fatima is that Rome would be the seat of the Antichrist. Joe Biden tested positive and experiencing mild symptoms, says the White House. According to Benjamin Fulford, Saudi Arabia's ambassador to Washington dismissed the oil for security paradigm as outdated and reductionist, in quotes. God is moving mountains right now and showing the world hard truths. Have faith, we are living in the most crucial and biblical moment in our history, and what is to come for humankind will be magnificent. While this is happening, the world is busy building the BRICS group of countries as an alternative to the Western-dominated institutions. Argentina, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Indonesia have applied to join the BRICS countries. When a funeral was held for Shinzo Abe in Japan, not a single world leader turned up. Europe. The ECB raises interest rates by half a percentage point, the first in 11 years. The Spanish stock market loses 0.20% after the ECB raises rates by half a percentage point. Spain, Italy, France, and Greece continue to fight fire. New fires break out in southern Greece and threaten populated areas. Greece, third country to reject European plan to reduce gas consumption by 15%. Electricity prices in Europe will rise again next winter. Draghi is willing to stay on as Italy's Prime Minister, but with conditions. Europe adopts the seventh package of anti-Russian sanctions, and Moscow responds. Russia resumes pumping gas to Germany, but only at 30% of capacity. A survey reveals that most Germans now bathe less frequently. Russia denies using gas as blackmail and says restrictions stem from European sanctions. Turkey says a deal to unblock Ukrainian grain will be signed. Regimes are falling in Europe. Macron ordered to resign as he faces investigation. Macron faces a nuclear nightmare as a blistering heatwave cripples 6 reactors at the most critical moment. Energy shortages are also shutting down Europe's economies. Annual gas bill of €1,500 could rise to €4,700 in October. If there were a global corruption patch known as the Storm, one of the events you would notice would be the sudden transition of the world's major governments at the same time. Americas. Argentina's economy grew 7.4% year-on-year in May. Fernandez says Mercosur can come to the world's aid. In quotes, we are huge food producers and we can be big energy suppliers. Argentina prepares a differentiated exchange rate for tourists. Food, energy challenge and Uruguay's disagreement, the key points of the Mercosur summit in Paraguay. Google sets up a cloud region in Mexico, the third in Latin America. Guatemala has the highest prison occupancy rate in the Americas. 136 earthquakes registered in western cities of El Salvador. Bachelet is concerned about the growth of an anti-rights agenda in Peru. The head of Brazil's Indigenous Affairs Agency leaves a meeting in Madrid after being insulted. China. In China, the implosion of the property market is giving rise to a citizen-imposed debt cancellation jubilee. That is why home buyers in more than 50 cities have stopped paying mortgages on more than 100 projects across China. CCP tanks took to the streets on Wednesday to protect people's banks because $6 billion in deposits have gone missing. Riots broke out after the Bank of China branch in Henan province announced that depositors' savings were now investment products in quotes, and withdrawals could no longer be made. The chariots are protecting the banks and not the village. This is likely to be repeated in other countries as well. The banking scandal first came to light in April when the South China Morning Post reported that residents of Henan and Anhui provinces were unable to access their bank deposits due to a system upgrade in quotes. The video from Henan shows tanks preventing locals from reaching the bank branch, and they later appear agitated by the presence of the armored vehicles. Chinese tech giant Baidu unveils an autonomous electric car without a steering wheel. The US acknowledges that it is losing influence at the United Nations to China. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.